What's the most terrifying thing in the universe? Is it a planet full of flesh-eating bacteria, an infinitely hungry black hole, or a dimension full of unspeakable horrors? No, it's something far more universal than that. It's the heat death of the universe. We've all heard about it, but have you ever wondered how it will happen? Well, buckle up, because we're about to take a journey into the heart of oblivion itself. Today, we'll be exploring 6 of the most popular theories among astronomers about how our universe might meet its end. The first theory is known as the heat death of the universe. It's also known as the heat death of the cosmos, the heat death of reality, the heat death of everything. This theory isn't really a theory, but rather a conclusion drawn from the laws of thermodynamics, which means that it doesn't really need any evidence to support it. All the other ones do, though. According to this theory, the universe will expand forever. Stars will burn out one by one until every single star in the night sky goes out, leaving only cold, dead stars and planets floating around in the darkness. Even the Earth will cool down to absolute zero, and all human life will be extinguished. After that, there will be nothing left in the universe except an endless void of cold, dark space. This theory is based on the fact that the entropy of the universe tends to increase over time. This is why your room always gets messier, no matter how much you try to keep it clean. And it's also why the universe will eventually run out of energy. So basically, the universe would just get really boring. It's not the most exciting way to go, but hey, at least it's not painful. Speaking of pain, that brings us to theory now 2. The Big Freeze. This is the second most popular theory among astronomers, but it's not the second most likely, okay? In fact, it's still almost impossible to tell how likely it is. It's currently favored because the expansion of the universe appears to be accelerating, meaning that this scenario could happen sooner rather than later. This theory essentially says that the universe will expand so fast that galaxies will drift away from each other faster than the speed of light. Nothing will be able to hold the universe together after that, and then humanity would die from exposure to the frigid cold of outer space while drifting further and further away from all other forms of life. This would effectively end the universe as we know it, but the timeline for this is a little ambiguous. Some astronomers say that it will happen in 100 billion years, while others say that it will happen in much, much more or less. Either way, if you don't plan on living past 100 billion years, you probably don't care. The next 2 theories are pretty similar, so I'm just going to group them together. They're the heat death of the universe and the heat death of reality. These 2 theories basically say the same thing, that the universe will expand, stars will burn out, and then everything will collapse in on itself. But there are some differences. In the heat death of the universe, everything would collapse in on itself, and then the Big Bang would happen again, restarting the universe. In the heat death of reality, everything would collapse in on itself, and then the Big Bang would not happen again. Instead, the universe would enter a period of infinite nothingness. In terms of likelihood, both of these theories are roughly as likely as the heat death of the universe, but they're still very unlikely to occur. First, the heat death of the universe would require the expansion of the universe to flip and start contracting, which has never happened before. Second, the heat death of reality would require the expansion of the universe to flip and then the laws of physics to change, which is even more unlikely. And third, both of these theories would require the heat death of the universe to happen, which is definitely not going to happen. So, let's move on to the next 2 theories, which are also unlikely, but slightly more likely than the last 2. These are the heat death of the cosmos and the heat death of everything. These 2 theories basically say the same thing. The universe will expand, stars will burn out, and then everything will collapse in on itself. But there's a twist. In both of these theories, everything will collapse in on itself, and then the universe would explode in a massive burst of energy, destroying everything. This explosion would be so powerful that not even atoms would be left intact. Everything would be reduced to a hot, dense soup of subatomic particles. Now, this wouldn't necessarily be the end of the universe, because those subatomic particles could just come back together and form new atoms. Stars, galaxies, and who knows what else. Tweet, but it would be the end of everything as we know it. Again, the timeline for this is a little ambiguous. Some astronomers say that it will happen in 10 to the power of 100 trillion years, while others say that it will happen in much, much more or less. Either way, if you don't plan on living past 10 to the power of 10 trillion years, you probably don't care. Finally, we come to the last theory, the Big Rip. This is the most unlikely of the bunch, but it's also the most popular theory among astronomers. It basically says that the expansion of the universe will continue to accelerate until galaxies, stars, and even planets are ripped apart. Atoms will be torn apart, and even subatomic particles will be ripped to shreds. At this point, there will be nothing left in the universe except a hot, dense plasma of elementary particles. And as the name suggests, this plasma will continue to be ripped apart until everything is completely destroyed. Now, there's a lot of debate in the cosmology community about how likely this scenario is. Some astronomers say that it's virtually impossible, while others say that it's the most likely scenario by far. Personally, I tend to agree with the pessimists. I think that the Big Rip is probably the most likely scenario. The universe is expanding, stars are burning out, and who knows what's going to happen next. But hey, at least it'll be a quick death. If the universe does rip, it would only take a few trillion years to completely destroy everything. Which theory do you think is most likely? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching. See you next time.